to EPG Pathshala in the subject of information technology and in the paper of open source software. In this module, we will discuss about Bash shell scripting. Friends, shell scripting is a feature of Linux. This is the module in which we will discuss shell scripting briefly, and in the subsequent modules we will discuss shell scripting in more detail. So, in the 13th module, we will start with the shell scripting features. We will try to write certain scripts, and subsequent modules we will discuss some complicated scripts, that is how we perform arithmetic operation or how we deal with files. So, the learning objectives of this module are: we will get an overview of different shells and what is shell scripting. Then we will see how to create shell scripts and how to execute those shell scripts. Further, we will see how to use built-in functions and our own customized functions by shell scripting. And finally, we will see how command substitution can take place and how positional parameters, or that is script parameters, can be used with the shell scripts. So, let us begin with discussion of shell scripting. Why the shell scripting is required and how it is beneficial to users as well as for administrators. So, let us take one analogy. Suppose there are 120 students in a class. These 120 students, they take new admission in a particular class. Now, whoever is the system administrator, he has to create login ID and credentials for those 120 students, which is very difficult. Suppose if I am writing a single command to create a user, then I will have to write 120 times those commands. No doubt there are shortcut ways, there are certain commands through which I can create all 120 users in a single shot. But if I start writing one by one command, and if I want to customize the environment for each student, it becomes a mammoth task. So, suppose imagine the administrator takes 5 minutes per student, then configuring 120 students will take nearly 600 minutes, that is almost a full day. Once the users are created, that is 120 users are created, those users will be active up to exams. Again, during exam, what the administrator will do? He will deactivate all the users and he will create new 120 users for exam purpose. So, the situation will worsen during exams. Once the exams are over, he has to again restore those users. So, this is where shell scripting comes to our rescue. If the administrator knows shell scripting, he can write a small script through which, by running a single script, he will create those 120 users, he will set the environment for those users, and when the exam arrives, he will run the script again to disable those users and enable or create another 120 users for exam purpose. So, this is how we can maintain integrity. The students' data during lab performance and the data during exam performance or during the practical exams will be separate. No student will be able to see his previous lab data during exams. This is one simple example of shell scripting. As we move ahead, we will see some other examples how we can use shell scripting for efficient system administration. Now, let us see what is the shell and what are the different shells available to write our shell scripts. As we have said, shell is an interpreter that sits between kernel and a user. So, whenever user fires command, he fires through shell, he writes the command in terminal or that is shell, those commands go further and that are executed by the kernel. Shell script is a series of commands. So, instead of writing or using a single command, the programmer will write series of commands into a single file, that is known as shell script. This is very much similar to DOS batch programming. In MS-DOS operating system, there is a similar concept that we call batch programming. but later you will know that shell scripting is quite powerful compared to the DOS batch programming, and the administrator can manage entire systems through shell scripting. In the Linux environment, there are different shells available. Depending on the usage, there is bourne shell, bourne again shell, and so on. We can see from the list the advantages of shell scripting are: user can automate various tasks, user can provide a controlled user interface, the programmer, if he writes shell scripts, he can reduce the rate of errors, programmer can create his own custom commands, he can create scripts and convert those scripts into custom commands. Programmers can create small procedures and share across different users or different programmers. Programmers can create repetitive tasks, repetitive procedures through shell scripts. So, these are the advantages of using shell scripting. As I said, shell works like an interpreter. Shell sits between the kernel and the user. So, whenever user enters command, he enters the commands in shell, and those commands they go to the kernel. If it is a file related command, the kernel will fetch that file from the hard disk, it will recover the content and it will show to the user. So, shell works like an interpreter, and that is why shell scripting are never compiled. The shell scripts are interpreted. There is no need of compiling shell scripts as in C, C++ or in Java programming language. Different shells that are available in Linux are bourne shell. There is a improved version of bourne shell, that is bourne again shell. There is C shell, Korn shell, and so on. So, bourne shell, the abbreviation is SH, bourne again is bash, C shell is CSH, there is KSH, that is Korn shell, and there is TCSH, that is 10x C shell. Depending on the usage, different shells were created and they were deployed over Linux system. Now, if you have a Linux system and you want to find out what shells are available in your system, you can use the command cat /etc/shells. So, by issuing this command, it will show all the shells that are available in your system. And if you want to see the default shell, that is when you log in, what shell is available in your system, the command is echo $shell. Shell is in capitals over here. So, if you want to see the default login shell, you issue the command echo $shell. Most cases you will see bash as the default shell. Bash is bourne again shell, which is deployed over most of the systems, and it is the default shell used by programmers. If you are a C programmer, probably you will use C shell. If you are a system administrator, probably you will use bash or you will use Korn shell. So, it depends on the choice of user. Depending on the choice of the work he has to do, the user can select a particular shell. In these modules, we will discuss bash programming, that is the shell scripting. What we will be discussing will be using bourne again shell. Now, let us see a very basic shell script. It contains just 2 lines. In this script, you can see the echo command displays today is. Echo command, whatever text is followed will be displayed on the prompt. So, when I say echo today is, and when I execute the program, it will display today is. There is another command in my shell script, that is the date command. I am using date command and I am giving some format. So, you can see the output in the below part of the screen. The output contains today is and the date of today. You can see the output is split in 2 lines. Why is it so? Because we have not given any option to the echo command. We will see how to produce output in a single line in future scripts. but this is a very basic shell script which contains just two commands. One is the echo command to display a particular text, the other is date command to display the today's date as per the system setting. So, this is a very basic shell script. You can create such kind of script using the VI editor, or you can use any other editor. Normally, the convention is to give extension .sh. So, whenever we are creating shell scripts, we give .sh extension. It is for our own purpose, so that we can identify that these are the shell programs which are different from rest of the programs. As such, there is no rule to give .sh extension. If you give .txt extension, it is okay, but you have to make the file executable if it is using .txt extension. Now, let us move ahead. How do we execute shell scripts? There are two ways, the two most frequent ways to execute shell scripts. First is using the bash command. As you can see in the screen, the bash command is fired at the $prompt, and we give the file name, the shell script name that is to be executed. So, you can see bash and shell script name. This is how we can execute the sample.sh script. Another way of executing is, it is made up of two steps. First is the sample.sh file has to be made executable using the chmod command. We have already discussed chmod command in module number 8. You can see how to assign execute permission to files. Once we have assigned the executable permission, the second step is to run the file. So, this is how we can execute a shell program if it has execute permissions. The dot and slash indicates current directory, and this file, if it is executable, it will execute and you can see the output according to the script. So, these are the two different ways which are mostly used by the programmers to execute shell programs. One is bash, it means we are invoking the bash shell, that is born again shell to execute the shell program, and the other is we are using the default shell which executes our shell script. Let us look into another shell script which is interactive. The first line indicates the default shell that is to be used. You can see it is commented. The shell scripts can be commented by hash sign. So, the first two statements they are commented. The first line indicates that this shell script is created which is to be executed by bash. It may contain commands which may not be available in other shells like K shell or C shell. That is why the first line says that this will be the shell which can execute the entire script. The second line is comment, it reads interactive script. So, this is the comment, this line is not going to be executed. So, whenever we want to put comment in the shell script, we use hash sign. Echo enter your name is the first line that is to be executed. You can see the output at the bottom of the screen. When we run the program, it will show enter your name. Then the interpreter will run the second line, that is read name. So, whatever we type, it will be entered and stored in this name variable. This is how we can create variables. Name is a variable which will store the details that we have entered at command prompt. In this example, I have entered Richard Davis. So, this is the name of any person which I have typed on the command prompt, and this name will be stored in the variable name. Here you must notice that we have not declared this type of variable, that is, this name is not character or integer type. There is no need of such kind of declaration. We can start using the variable name like this, read name. There is no need of initialization or declaration. By default, shell program treats all variables as string. So, this name variable is of string type. In the third statement, I am displaying the content of name variable. So, the third statement contains echo you entered $name. Whenever we want to display the content of any variable, we use $sign in front of it. So, over here the second line indicates name variable. When we do not want to display the content, it is going to fetch the value into name, and the last line of the script is displaying the content of this variable. That is why we have used $sign. You can see the output. The last line of the screen contains the output you entered and the name what I have entered, Richard Davis. So, this is how interactive shell scripts can be created. The execution is what I have already discussed earlier. You can save this script in a file second.sh, you can make it executable, or you can run using the bash command. Let us see how to make formatted output. So, we start with the third line, echo hello $user. Now, this $user is an inbuilt variable that is provided by Linux. These are known as environment variables. Certain variables like shell, user, home, path, they are all environment variables that are provided by Linux. So, if I want to display the content of environment variable, I will say hello $user. So, the content of user variable, that is within the Linux shell, will be displayed. Then I am displaying today is so and so date. Here I have used the option -e. So, the output of today is and the date will be in the same line. I am also displaying the number of online users. So, this is another echo statement. I have used -e again with this echo statement, number of online users, and I am using the command who piped with WCL. So, the output of this command along with the echo statement will be shown together on the command prompt. So, this is another example of shell script. It is not interactive, it simply displays the content of user, it displays the date and number of online users. But we have seen how formatting can be applied within the shell scripts. Now, when we create variables, there are certain rules of creating variable names. So, the valid syntax of creating variables is the variable name can be assigned some value which can be a number or which can be a string. But as I said, if you are storing number or you are storing string, the variable will take it as a string. The variable will not take it as a number, and there is no provision of using integer or float type if it is shell scripting. The variable names can have underscore. So, you can see my underscore age, it uses underscore. Variables can have null values. So, variable name equal to, and if we do not keep anything over here, it takes null value, or else we can use quotes to assign null values. So, this is how variables can be used. There are different rules to use variables, but the most important is Linux variables are case sensitive. So, if my age variable has uppercase and if I am using as a lower case, then it will be two separate variables. So, whenever we create variables, they are case sensitive, and usually the first character must be an alphabet or an underscore. So, these are certain rules of creating variable names. There is another provision of exporting variables. There is a command export through which the value of one variable can be made available to another shells, provided they are the child processes of the current shell. Later we will see how export variable can be used along the shell scripts. Let us see an example. There are two screens or there are two columns. In the first one we are not using export command, in the second we have used export command. So, let us see what difference it makes. Let us begin with the first column. We are creating a variable a which stores value 15. This can be executed at command prompt, there is no need to create a shell script. Then we are displaying the content of variable a using the echo command. Subsequently, we are invoking another shell script. So, our shell program, the default shell, will create another child process. Now, when we say echo $a, it is not going to display any output. Again we are assigning 20 to the value a. You can see the variable names are same, but the shells are different. This is the default shell and this is another shell that we have invoked. So, there are two shells, one is the default in which a has 15, we are creating another shell in which a has 20 value. Now, what we want is the value of first shell, what we call parent shell, must be visible to the child shell. If we do not use export, it is not possible. So, when you see the another column, you can see in another column we have used export a. So, by using this export a, the value of a, that was 15, can be carried on to the child shell over here. When you execute this program, the second column will display 15 over here, whereas the first column will not display any content of a. So, this is how we can use export command to carry on the values of one shell into another shell. Let us move ahead. Now, let us discuss functions, how to use functions. As you know, the functions make programs modular. For instance, if I want to create separate functions to get data, to display data, then my program will look more modular. I can make procedure oriented programs using functions. Although functions are not used in shell script in wide variations, but still some basic functional requirements can be satisfied. So, let us see how functions can be created. First thing is, functions has to be declared and the functions has to be invoked. Over here we can see a function contains block of code. Usually the function has to be called again and again. So, they help in making the same procedure repeat multiple times. When we use function in shell scripting, first is we have to define a function and we must know how to call or invoke a function. So, the syntax of defining a function is we have to provide function name, brackets, and all the commands can be placed in these curly braces. It is almost similar to C programming. The function name goes as a defining a function and it contains set of commands. Now, let us move ahead. This is a sample script where I am creating a function myline. The myline function will display asterisk characters, and this is how I invoke myline function. Over here we are not passing any arguments, nor the function is returning any argument, it is a very basic function. So, what I want in output is I want the asterisk line printed thrice. When I call myline over here, it will display the asterisk line, then the date will be followed, again there will be asterisk line in the output, and again there will be number of users, and finally the last line will be asterisk line displayed by the myline function. So, this is a very simple example. I am using myline function thrice in my script. The first part defines the function and the later part will use or invoke the function. Let us see another example. This example displays two parameters $1 and $2. So, this example shows how parameters can be passed to function. The function name is hello. I am passing two arguments. You can see how I am invoking the function. It is hello Richard Davis. So, Richard will become my $1 which is over here, and Davis will be stored in $2. When I am invoking this function, it will echo the contents of $1 and $2. So, the output will be hello Richard Davis. So, this is how arguments can be passed to the functions. Let us see how functions can return values. While defining a function, the keyword is return 12. So, when the function is invoked, this is how function will be invoked, and after the function executes, $? Will contain the return value. So, the return value 12 will be stored in $? Which I am storing in the RET variable name. RET is the name of the variable. So, when the function executes, the value of 12 will be returned and it will be stored in RET variable name. And subsequently, I can display the content of RET variable using the last line. You can see the last statement. The return value is $RET. So, the content of RET, that is 12, will be displayed by the last statement of this script. So, this is an example how we can return the values from a function within shell scripts. Shell scripts does support nesting of function or calling one function from another one. Let us see an example. Here there are two functions, one is first, the another is second. You can see first function displays this is the first function within which I am invoking the second function. So, when I execute the program, I will simply execute the first function. So, the last statement first will invoke the first function and it will display the line that this is the first function. Later it will invoke second function and the second function will display the line this is now second function. So, one function can be invoked from another function. This is another feature provided by functions of shell scripts. Let us move ahead. We will discuss the shell commands. There are three types of shell commands. One is built-in commands. We call them commands like pwd, cd, that is change directory, let command, they are all built-in command. So, those commands are part of shell. Few other commands can become applications like ps, although ps is a command, but it is a program in itself. Similarly, df, vi, these are commands, but when we execute these commands, they are inbuilt compiled applications. And the third category is, if we write scripts, our scripts can behave as commands. So, if I am writing a script of creating 120 user, it can work as a command. It can be a user defined command using the shell scripts. Let us move ahead. There is a notion of command substitution. Now, what is command substitution? So, when we want to execute a command that is part of another command, then we use command substitution. It is kind of subquery in SQL. So, one query is part of another query. Same way, command substitution takes one command that is part of another command. Let us see an example. The line echo today is, then there is grave % sign and date command. So, when this line is executed, first this command will be executed. We call this command substitution, and the output of this command will go along with the echo command. Command substitution can be done in two ways. One is using grave % sign, that is the tilde sign, or by using the $parenthesis sign. So, you can see there are alternate ways of using command substitution. Either we can use grave accent or we can use the dollar sign. I would recommend using the grave accent sign, because dollar can be ambiguous while using variables. Now, we come to the script parameters. While using shell programs or shell scripts, we can provide positional parameters, or that is command line arguments. So, when we run a shell program, as we can see in the screen, the last line is how we execute the shell script. After the script name, file 1 and file 2, these are the positional parameters. So, they become the arguments. The name of file 1 and file 2 can become input to this shell myscript.sh. So, this is how we pass positional parameters to shell. Now, when it is useful, you might have seen copy command. In CP copy command, we copy one file into another file. So, file 1 becomes parameter 1 and file 2 becomes parameter 2. The copy command will copy the content of file 1 into file 2. So, over here we have two parameters, file 1 and file 2. They are command line arguments, or they can be called positional parameters. In shell scripting, it allows to create n number of positional parameters. But when we want to access those parameters, each parameter is given a number. Say for example, $1, $2, $3, $4 up to $9, there are 9 positional parameters, and the $0 indicates the file name. So, at a time we can use 10 parameters. $0 indicates the name of the file, and $1, 2, 3 up to $9 indicates positional parameters. If we want to use further parameters, then shell program does allow to use further parameters using shift command. So, that is how we can pass n number of positional parameters at the command line. Let us see an example how positional parameters are used and what are the significance of $1, $2 and so on. As you can see in the screen, $0 indicates the name of the program or name of the script. $1 is the first argument, that is the first parameter. Subsequently, $2, 3 up to $9 are the next arguments. We can go up to $9. If we type $10, then it will again show the first parameter $1 concatenated by 0. If I want to list all parameters, then I can use $* or I can use $@. Using these values, I can list all parameters that are passed to the shell program. Either I can use quotes or I can simply use $* or $@. In next module, we will see what is the difference between these two notations. And finally, if I want to count the number of parameters that I had passed during my program execution, then I can use $#. So, $# will give the number of parameters that were passed to the shell program. Let us see a program which uses positional parameter. The first 3 lines are comments. Echo the name of this program. So, $0 will contain the program name that we passed at command line, and when this statement is executed, it will display the name of program. Next statement will display the first argument apart from the program name, the first argument that was passed, then the second argument that was passed, the third argument and so on. So, this is how we can display up to 9 different arguments. This line will display all the arguments. So, when we use $*, it displays all command line arguments that were passed to the program. Similarly, $@ will also display all command line arguments, and the last line will display the count, that is the number of arguments that were passed at the command line. You can execute the program and you can convince yourself how these positional parameters can be used within the shell scripts. Let us see how it can be executed. So, my program name is parameters.sh. This is my shell program. I am passing 4 parameters 1, 2, 3 and 4. Those are the words. For the case of simplicity, I have used words that can be understood. So, when the program runs, I am using bash command to execute this shell script. You can see $0 is parameters.sh. So, the $0 variable takes parameters.sh as its value, $1 takes ONE 1 as a string, $2 takes 2, $3 takes 3 and so on. Now, when I say $* or $@, it will display all these parameters 1, 2, 3, 4, that is $1, $2, $3, $4. If I want to display each and every parameter that was passed at command line, I can use $@ or $. And finally, you can see $# indicates the number of parameters that were passed to the script. So, this is how we can pass command line parameters to the shell script. Let us move ahead. If I am writing a script, naturally I will try to create my own custom commands. So, if I am writing a script and which I want to run as a custom command, for instance, I want to create my own copy command, then the first thing is I have to use shell programming. I have to create a program, then later on my script file must be made executable. So, I use chmod command and made it executable. Then there is a path environment variable which contains the path of executable commands. Either I can place this shell program in that path directory, or I can modify the path variable so that it points to my current directory. The easiest way is to copy the command or copy our shell script and place it in the directory indicated by the path environment variable. So, next time when we simply type the command irrespective of any directory, instead of using the same directory, we can move to any directory from which we can type those commands, and the shell script will be executed as if it is command. So, for example, if I am creating my own copy program, let us say my copy.sh. So, I will create a shell script which contains set of commands. The script name is my copy.sh. Then what I am going to do is I will make it executable. So, I will use chmod +x my copy.sh program, and finally, I will place that script in a directory that is indicated by the path variable. So, next time when I log in, I can issue my copy command from any directory. I need not go to the directory in which my shell script is existing. So, this is how we can create our own custom shell scripts that can be used as our custom commands. So, coming to the final part of our discussion, let us briefly go through the features of bash, that is born again shell. Why I am advocating bash? The reason is it supports wildcard characters, that is meta characters. It does support IO redirection and piping. There are provisions of redirecting standard error to file or to some output terminal. It provides command grouping and command separation features. We can run programs in background. We will explore this feature, how to run in background. We can use conditional execution. We can use positional parameters. We can access environment variables. We can use previous command and command substitution, and bash also allows us to use aliasing or abbreviation of command. So, these are the features that are provided by bash for a shell programmer. So, to quickly summarize, we started our discussion by introduction of shell, different types of shell, why is it required. We also introduced why shell scripting is required by administrators. I had given one example. Under the circumstances, it will make the job very easier. Then we started writing our own script. We created a sample script. The first one was non-interactive script. later on I showed how to create interactive script using the read command. So, we can read the data typed at command prompt in some variable. Later we went through using functions within shell script. We have also seen how to use positional parameters in the shell programming, and finally, we discussed how to create our own custom command using shell programs. So, friends, I hope you enjoyed this session. You can explore the scripts given in the notes. You can start typing the shell scripting. It hardly requires 2 or 3 days to get a good mastery over shell scripting. So, happy programming and looking forward to see you in the next lecture of shell scripting.